1 second. The recording process has been started.
Okay. Yeah. So hi everyone. Very good afternoon, and thanks for participating. So today we'll talk about basically my journey of building my startup and getting it acquired by a larger player based out of India itself. So I mean, there are so many entrepreneurs. Then why me? So basically, I started out of college itself. I started my company in the fourth year of college when I was still in the campus. So that serves as an example for other students to take an initiative to start a company of their own rather than just going for uh, jobs or higher studies. So I'm also an investor in some of the startups. So basically, I don't actively participate in passive investment. The screen in front of you. So that's a bit about myself. So these are some of. So number one is basically how to find and evaluate startup ideas. I think this is where many of college students struggle with because most of them don't have any experience of working professionally. Second, the skills required for starting up. So what things you should know apart from your core engineering skills or core any other skills that you have done your bachelor's in. Third is the co-founder and the founding team. So how do you do that? Fourth is basically how do you take your product to the market by building a minimum viable product, also called as MVP, and establishing a product market fit. So don't be overwhelmed with some of these terms. We'll break them down and understand. Fifth is around funding. So many of us, I'm sure, are fascinated by the news we hear about funding. Some startup raising millions of dollars, right? So we will understand what is that and how does it work. Then I'll talk about my journey of building Cogno AI. So throughout the first 5 points also, I will mainly talk about my own journey. So this will be more of a journey description session rather than me giving a lecture. So I don't want it to be boring, frankly. Then some resources which according to me are good ones from where students can learn. And lastly, Q&A. Okay, so let's begin. So the first part, which is how to find and evaluate startup ideas. Many of us look at the technology and we try to find problems wherein we can fit these technologies, right? So in Y Combinator, which is a well-known incubator in the Bay Area, in the Silicon Valley, they call it a solution in search of a problem, SISP. I think this is one of the bad ways to start a company. Many college students, even myself, I had the perception that if you build something, people will come and buy. If it is powered by artificial intelligence, AR, VR, or some deep technology, people will be interested in it. Really, that's not how it works, right? So the way it works is you start with a problem statement. What is it that people are interested in? What is it that will help improve people's life? And then you work backwards. So many of the problem statements can come from your own problems, which you face in college, which you face in, let's say, some competitive exam preparation. Someone might be preparing for higher studies, right? And you find a difficulty in the application process. I'll give you a very simple example of a problem that I am facing currently. One of my family members is undergoing a medical process. Now, I went to a hospital and I consulted a doctor, and doctor recommended some complex procedure to be done. Now, the thing is, I have two problems now. Number one, from where can I get a second opinion? Now, this doctor is good. He's from a reputed hospital. All of that is fine. But how do I trust that he is not selling me his treatment? And rather, my family member who is in trouble actually requires this treatment. So this is a problem statement. So I need a way to consult someone and get a second opinion. Again, if I go to another doctor, obviously they will also say the same thing. But I need a trusted opinion that are there alternatives? Is this the best solution that this doctor has described? And number two, on the cost front. So I've been quoted, let's say some 100 rupees of cost. I'm just giving a random number. Can it be done in 80 rupees? Right? Are there doctors who can, are there hospitals who can perform this activity in 80 rupees? So I don't know. I mean, this is a problem statement. Somebody can actually build a product or a startup around it. If anyone of you is interested, this is a free startup idea I'm passing to you. I don't know if there are startups solving this problem, but I did not find anything on Google search. So one is find problems that you yourself are facing. Second is find problems which are being faced by people around you. So this is what the second point is how we started Cogno. So just about Cogno AI, basically we are an enterprise chatbot platform. The chatbots you see on various banks' website, websites of many other companies, they are powered by us. So using these chatbots, you can do a transaction, you can get your customer support queries resolved at midnight without any human intervention. So how did we start? Like, where did we find the startup idea of the chatbot? In 2017, basically, this whole thing started. Uh, my parents were very much, they are not too educated, but they were very much using smartphones. They had internet connection, and they had all the apps installed on their phone: Ola, Uber, Swiggy, Zomato, Amazon. But even then, they used to call me for help in placing an order on Amazon or booking a cab through Ola, right? So there was a problem statement that, look, how can elderly parents, they can avail all of these services from Ola, Uber, Swiggy, Zomatos of the world without depending on their kids, which is people like me and you. So that's where we wanted to build something which is a voice-based platform, right? For all of our parents, I'm sure the easiest thing is to dial a number. On that number, they can call. And imagine if we could build something which can automatically respond. So let's say my father has to book a cab, he will call and say, look, I want to book a cab from, I'm in so and so society in Hirandani Gardens in Powai, and I want to go to, let's say, Lower Parel and in so and so office or so and so building. And whatever, a cab is booked, right? Very simple example. It will understand the voice, it will convert it into text, feed into some system, sorry, and get the cab booked. Imagine if something of this sort could be done. So when we took feedback from some of our customers, some of our mentors, we spoke to a lot of people. So this is a B2C idea where, as a business, we are serving consumers like my father, your father, or our parents, right? So the idea was to validate, is this a real world problem? Is it something that only my parents are facing problems with, or is it a general problem? We literally went to Starbucks near IIT campus. So the crowd is relatively educated. People are already using smartphones, right? If you go to very backward places, they may not even be knowing that these services exist, or they may not be using these services at all. I mean, they should be able to purchase stuff from Amazon. So we went to a relatively well-off area near Starbucks in Powai, which is near IIT Bombay campus, the college from where I studied. So we spoke to a lot of people. And you may ask, how can you just talk to random people? They will freak out. So we had our IIT Bombay College ID card, and we told them, look, we are academicians and researchers working on a project which requires some support from them. So that's the best card you have, being a student. People will not be worried about who you are. People will not feel threatened about who you are, and that's why they will help you. So definitely leverage that. Use your ID card to show a proof that you are not going to harm them, you're not going to damage them, and portray yourself as academicians and researchers rather than entrepreneurs or salespeople. Definitely don't use those kind of words. So that way you can get a validation. So when we spoke with a lot of people, we figured out some thoughts, some ideas. Someone told that, why can you help in travel booking and flight booking? Someone else told something else, visa delivery, right? So people had a diverse set of problems, and people had different accessibility issues. Someone still had a feature phone. So now, if you make your parents download an app, how do you update them on the cab location if they are using a feature phone, a traditional phone, right? So all those challenges we faced. So when we collected our feedback and went back to our incubation center and professors who were helping us in this, basically they gave us another idea. They said, why don't you go and meet large companies, businesses who have an established customer base, and solve the problem for them. Give them your technology, give them your product, and tell them that, look, you can use it and give it to your customers as an end solution. So that way, multiple problems are solved. Number one, the use case will become constrained, right? Cab booking, food ordering on Amazon and Flipkart, all of these are diverse use cases. But if we focus, let's say, only banking services, so we have to do less amount of work to go to the market. So that was one. Number two, we don't have to invest money in acquiring customers, educating the customers about our product. The enterprise will do it for us, right? Let's say we go and sell the solution to HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank. It's their job to educate their customers that they have brought in service like a voice bot or a chat bot. So this way it becomes relatively easier. So through reference of some of our mentors, we went to some of these banks. As you can see, this is me and my co-founder, my earlier co-founder actually. We are sitting in HDFC Bank office. This is in Mumbai in Lower Parel. And we went to their corporate center. Again, you know how it all started. How did we reach HDFC Bank? So they had published a news article about a robot they had placed in one of their branches in Kamla Mills compound in South Bombay. Now it's a physical robot. Literally, you can go to the branch. It's a humanoid-like robot. You can talk to it and get support. So we just went there and we asked the branch manager what was the team who was building this project, and they connected us with some people from the corporate office. We called them and they agreed for a meeting. Again, we presented ourselves as academicians and researchers rather than entrepreneurs and salesmen. So it was so easy. We got a meeting on the same day within a couple of hours, and this is how we went. So find ways to talk to people, understand their pain points. When you use internet, when you use Reddit, Google, Quora, Facebook, all of these platforms, uh, find about find what is it that people are complaining about, what is it that they want better in their lives, right? We all interact with so many people because of social media, and that's the best source of for identifying problem statements. You guys would have seen Kunal Shah, the founder of Cred. He conducts a lot of calls on LinkedIn. What I'm trying to understand is he's trying to discover customer pain points. So, so some of the bullet points that I've mentioned. Number one, is this a real world problem or not? And that is the only way to validate that is to talk to people. Number two, do people like your solution? So we'll come to this part, which is product market fit. Number three, will they pay for it? The problem should be large enough that people pay for it. It should not be good to have. I'm sure all of you would be using some free services. Uh, if Netflix stops tomorrow, some of you might feel a problem, but a lot of you will not bother about it. For example, I'm not in the segment where I will be worried if Netflix stops. That is exactly what you try to understand when you talk to customers. Number four, do you have capability to execute? Which means, are you the right person to build the solution? So let's say if I am an engineer, I am less capable of building a medical solution rather than something which can be solved by a software. I'm a software engineer when I say that. So do you have the capability? So choosing an unrelated problem statement will make it difficult for you to execute, because you will have to then hire team members who have that capability, and it just becomes more and more difficult. So that's about evaluating startup ideas. Essentially, find problem statements in people's life. So let me just, I have a sheet with me in which I keep on writing some problem statements. I'll give you a few examples, right? So again, very simple problem statement which I faced. I heard a news recently that in the society near my building, one of the nearby societies, some construction work was going on, some maintenance work was going on in one of the flats. It's already a built society, so builder is not constructing, but some maintenance, some repair was going on. And unfortunately, one of the laborers fell down from 25th floor and died. Now, my immediate thought was, how is his family managing at this time when he might be the sole breadwinner of his family and he died? So who takes care of his family? Then another thought came was, is there an insurance? Did he have an insurance? So many companies do not issue insurance. Unfortunately, many laborers are exploited and nobody will bother going back to his family. In that case, can the customer, like whoever was the resident of that society, if they are, if can they pay 200 rupees and get an insurance for 3 days for that uh, contract worker, maybe for 5 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees, which might help his family get out of the trauma. So very simple example, like a problem that came, and then immediate thought was, is there a solution? I have like 35, 40 such problem statements, a lot of ideas. Another idea is that there are frequent flyer programs in airlines. Uh, Emirates Airlines provides a frequent flyer program. Is there a cross airline frequent flyer program? Because I travel to, let's say, Mumbai, from Mumbai I travel to Bangalore, I will prefer Indigo. Kanpur, there is like SpiceJet. I travel to Delhi and there might be Go Air, who is better, who's doing better. So can I have a program which is a rewards program across airlines, which is offered by, let's say, Make My Trip? So these are just some ideas which I'm telling you. These are actual problem statements which I have faced. I don't know if these are startup ideas. I don't know if a business could be made out of it, but these are these fall into the first bracket. Think of your own problem. I think the first way is the best way to actually come up with startup ideas, because you feel the pain. So now let's talk about things required for starting up. This is very important. Me and my co-founder were engineers and techies. The easiest thing was for us was to write code, right? You pick up your laptop, do some Google search, find something on Stack Overflow, cut, copy, paste, and some good software comes up with a fancy UI, and you feel that adrenaline rush that, look, I have built something, I have accomplished something. Unfortunately, it is the most wasteful activity, and this thing should be done at the very last. because see, the problem is you have built something which God knows who will use, right? It may be absolutely useless for people. So I feel that the most important skill for college students to learn is talking to people. Disconnect your mind from writing code. Do not write code. Do not search for tutorials. Do not build anything until and unless you have a solution or you have a problem statement which is identified from the customer. So first validate the problem. It starts with a problem that you say that, look, I am facing this hospital problem that I mentioned, or this insurance problem for the contract laborer. Let's take an example of this. Uh, to validate, so rather than building a portal where you can come and apply for insurance for your laborer, I will not do that. I will first go and meet 5 companies who have these laborers on contract, or probably 5 societies nearby, and ask them. I will probably go to the society which is near my house and ask them what happened. Can you connect me with the contractor? Did we pay anything to that laborer? So that's how I will start. I will not write code at all. I will talk to the society members. I will talk to the flat owner from whose flat this person had fallen down. I will meet the contractor. I will meet the family of that laborer. That way I will gather insights and I will get some idea that, okay, looks like this person did not have an insurance. Or it may finally come to me that this person actually had an insurance issued by company. In that case, my whole hypothesis goes for a toss. So I hope everybody follows this part, right? If he has an insurance, there is no point in building a mobile app or a web portal or whatever. It is a useless point. So this is the first point. So let's say I find out that actually this person did not have insurance. Then I will go and talk to the company that why did you not provide insurance? I'll probably go and talk to 5 other companies. I will talk to other laborers whose family members are facing challenges because in a typical labor family, many people are laborers, right? There will be 3 brothers, all of them will be working in a similar job. So I'll probably go and meet them to find out if someone has expired in their family because of being on the field, because of lack of safety rules and regulations, and that way I will gather ideas. So what I'm trying to tell you is I will not write code. I will talk to people. And that's the most important skill, which we specifically, I assume a lot of audience will be in people from engineering background who can write code, who can build things. Do not do that. Resist that urge. And if and when you decide to actually build something, it's better to utilize your own skill set, which is if you are a coder or a programmer, or if you are a designer, if you are a doctor, medical student, it's always better to be a domain expert. You may not be that of an expert because you are still in college, but whatever little you have learned in your undergrad, try to utilize that, build on top of it. So yeah, that was about some of the skills. I think the most important skill is talking to customers. That's a takeaway message from the previous slide. Now, finding your co-founder. So I actually had a big challenge with my earlier co-founder. My co-founder exit after I think 1 year and 4 months. So April 2017, which was my last semester, that's when I started my company. And August 2018, my co-founder exit. So it is important to find similar co-founders. Essentially, I'll tell you how it works. So these are practical learnings. These are not written in any books, especially the first one that I'm going to mention. Co-founders should have a relatively similar financial background. That is one. And I think it is because of the fact that many people have money as one of the driving factors for starting a business. And so if one is super rich, other is relatively not that well to do, so you will have a big disconnect, because the definition of money for someone super rich versus someone from a middle class background will be very different. So that is number one. Number two, you should have a common vision, in the sense that, let's say one of you is excited for solving the education problem in India. Your co-founder should also be excited. They should not be like, no, education is something boring, I don't want to do that. So people should be excited about the problem statement. They should believe in that. So a very simple example that I mentioned about the contract laborer who faced this issue. Now, some of you may not care about that, and that's absolutely okay. Some others might be interested. Someone who is interested in a social cause might be thinking that, yes, Aman is genuinely solving a good problem. He will help laborers. Many of you may not care. I mean, that's totally fine. It depends on human to human. But when you get a co-founder on board, make sure they care about a social cause. And that thing, for example, will reflect in their behavior. If someone is concerned about a social cause, they would have taken a social initiative in the college. They would have joined National Social Service. They would have become a teaching assistant. They would have done some sort of volunteering activity. For me, very simple example, I like to participate. I'm doing this session. I'm not getting any money in return, right? It's not a social cause really, but it is it reflects my behavior where I'm wanting to give back to the society. I write a blog. I have a Quora profile where I write a lot of content. I'm starting a YouTube channel to guide students on career, entrepreneurship, jobs, internships. There is no, I mean, there is no monetary angle. Frankly, with I mean, I'm above all of these things in terms of money, right? The thousands of rupees coming from, let's say, blog advertisement or not doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm doing this more because I want to do it. I enjoy these things. So if my co-founder is not enjoying these kind of things, if they are not doing these kind of things, they are not the right fit. The vision should be common, and that is very important. Uh, Number two, okay, someone has asked some question. Yes. I think it must be accidental. So number two is that your co-founder and you should have a complementary skill set. One big mistake which I made was me and my co-founder, the earlier co-founder, both were programmers. It's absolutely bad idea. It's like having five thumbs. Can you imagine if your hand did not have five fingers? So this thumb works differently, these fingers work differently, this works differently, the small finger, right? So imagine if you had five thumbs, your hand would be very useless. You wouldn't be able to use it effectively. So it works very similar. The co-founders are like thumbs of a hand. They should work together to solve a common problem, which is, let's say, picking up something you use your hand for, right? So solving a common problem, but they should support different parts. One person should be very good at talking, other person could be a very good programmer, a third person could have a very good product sense, a fourth person could be a customer support person who can handle a lot of customer queries, interactions, and all of that, right? So make sure to have a team which works in complementary ways. And I would recommend that not having more than three co-founders is much better. Ideally two co-founders, but if you have more than three, it generally I've seen it becomes a chaos, because whenever you have to take a decision, more number of people are involved. They will have differing opinions, they will have differing views, and it just becomes complicated. With two people or three people, it becomes easier. And make sure you work with people you know well. This basically I said, right? If you should know the person very well. The problem you're trying to solve, their behavior should connect with that. So now coming to what is a minimum viable product. So this is very interesting. Basically, minimum viable product is the version of the product which you can go and talk to people and gather feedback. So first, as you saw, the first 4 slides were all about identifying a problem, which is basically, are people interested in this? Is this a pain area for them? Now I'm coming on the solution part. So once you have spoken with enough number of people and you are sure that, yes, this is a good problem statement, how do you build a solution for that? Now, when you start building a solution, again, don't write code on day one. Start with a video like what I'm going to show you. It's not a solution, it's a hard-coded recorded video, and then work towards a solution. So this is a voice-based solution which we were conceptualizing, and we actually recorded this video in one of the professor's cabin. So let me play this for you guys to get an idea of how a minimum viable product looks like. Can you guys hear the audio?
Yes, sir, we can.
What is my account balance?
Very good. Your account balance is 24,000 rupees.
What are the best loan options available for laptop purchase?
We are happy to provide you instant personal loan of 30,000 rupees at 8%.
So you saw the idea, right? This is a hard-coded video. The While app is like a little bit of 10-15 minutes of hard coding. There is no voice recognition here. It will reply the same whatever you ask. These portions have been cut and hard coded. So we were able to write this in like half an hour, 1 hour of time, and created a video out of it. And as you can see, it has been branded with one of the leading banks in India. So that's how these things work, right? Instead of building a fully fledged product and then showing it, we went and showed them the concept. So when we started our journey, we fortunately had a lot of mentors, advisors from IIT Bombay Alumni Network who had connects in these companies. So Axis Bank, HDFC Bank, Yes Bank, State Bank of India, we met some of these banks to get an idea of what problems they are facing. And so one of the common theme was they wanted to scale the customer experience. Everybody believed that because of Reliance Jio giving a smartphone in every person's hand, the adoption of mobile banking and net banking will drastically increase. So how can whatever services they are offering in branch, how can they bring it online in a more personalized manner? That was the common problem statement with all of these companies. So that's where we built this. We said, look, why don't you do it through app, through voice, through chat, through WhatsApp, right? So this is a minimum viable product. This is enough to gather you feedback. You are not, I mean, literally, we sold this minimum viable product to some of our customers. We had just this concept video. Basis this concept video, our first customer we signed up, SBI, gave us a contract of several tens of lakhs of rupees. They understood the potential, they understood the concept, and they wanted it desperately because they had their bank's foundation day on 2nd July 2017. On 1st July, actually, 2nd July is the IET foundation day that they celebrate. And so they wanted to launch something in that foundation day, and that's when we were at the right place at the right time. It was a combination of hard work, being street smart, and also luck. So now this comes the product market fit. So once you show this, so let me explain what is the product market fit. Once you show this to customers,
before that,
yeah,
I have one thing to ask that many founders, like especially in tech, get who away with the new tech emerging. So I remember, like the day before yesterday, I was talking to an entrepreneur from Maharashtra. He was working in his hometown Kolhapur, and now he's in Bangalore. So the main reason why his first step startup failed, the reason he said, because he used, and in his word I'm repeating, quote unquote, the latest tech available. And what happened was, he was building a very simply Saloon Connect app, and that app didn't work well. Why? Because he made a web app back in 2017, and he used some new tech which many developers were not available. So
right,
I have this question to you, sir, that it seems very nice. For example, right now Flutter is going very well for app development, but it is tough to find good Flutter developer as of now, because it's a relatively new technology
right,
compared to React Native and other. So, but when a startup founder, someone who is new, try to use React Native, he often listen, "अरे यार, Flutter बहुत अच्छा है, उस पे जाओ." But in
right,
reality, if you go by Flutter, it will be more difficult than to operate in React Native. So, how
right.
to come up with that, and how to put the, choose the good tech stack? Because I have seen company fail due to the sole reason, because they were not able to maintain what they were selling, despite the growth.
So Shubham, right? So Shubham, if I ask you,
Yes, sir.
can we do this on Zoom? It is better than Google Meet. The first question you will ask me is why? How is it better? Same way, if you were to say Flutter is better, React Native is better, these are vague statements. Nothing is better, nothing is bad. Lamborghini is a fantastic car, but can you drive it in Mumbai roads, in speed breaker,
Absolutely not.
in water and all? So it is not better over here. I would rather drive a much cheaper car which just does my job. So the question of being better or bad is a relative question. Someone says Flutter is better, the first question I will ask him is how, and tell me in my context how is it better. So what problem are you trying to solve when you migrate from React Native to Flutter? I will probably use jQuery, I will probably use native HTML, CSS, and JavaScript if it solves my problem, rather than unnecessarily complicating things with Flutter. So that should answer your question. He
Yes.
unnecessarily frame. So in my entire slide, I will not talk about technology, because technology is the last thing which I am worried about. So long as I have a problem statement in my hand, a customer willing to pay, I know there is a developer who I can hire who will solve this problem. Whether it is Flutter, whether it is React Native, is a decision which can be taken at a later stage. So if I am
Okay,
building,
sir.
I'm just giving an example, by the way, I'm not well versed with Flutter and React Native because I mostly work on the customer side now. My co-founder looks at tech, but let's say Flutter is more scalable. I'm just giving an example, while React Native is faster to build because it's easier. So then what I will think is, what problem I'm trying to solve? Do I need developer quickly? Or do I don't want developers time to be wasted because I have limited developers? Then I'll go for React Native. But if I'm building something which requires a billion users to be supported, then I'll probably use Flutter because it is more scalable. You got the idea, right? What problem I'm trying to
Yes,
solve matters more. So there might be programming languages which are fast and all of that, but if you are not doing real-time streaming, why does it matter?
very, very.
Yeah. So for our case, this was the MVP that I showed you in the video. Basis this, we got a contract from one of the leading banks. It's a hard-coded video. It does not contain a backend product, nothing, and it worked for us because the person got excited by it and they trusted us. Next question is bootstrap or raise funds. So I'll talk about my journey. Uh, Two IITians starting a company, having many logos of ICICI Group, Kotak Group, State Bank Group, HDFC Group, and all of that as their customers. backed by some IIT Bombay Incubation Center, mentors. All of this creates a good hotshot story of fundraising. Many investors also reached out to us. But the question was, why raise funds? This is very similar to Flutter versus React Native. Someone might make a blanket statement and say, why don't you raise funds? The question you should ask is, why should I raise funds if I have money in the bank? So, very simple example. Uh, for me, I was able to, so in my college days, I was able to fund my college education by doing freelancing, and I did not require my parents' money. On the other hand, a lot of people require their parents' money because they can't do freelancing, right? Which is okay. By the way, I'm not comparing anything good or bad here. I'm just telling how I did versus how other people do. So basically, I was bootstrapped in my college. My friends were funded. Now both are doing well in life. My friends are also doing well in life. I am also doing well in life. Uh, Good paying job or startups or whatever you can think of. So there is no right or wrong answer. It's a matter of preference. If you so for example, my friends might complain saying, Aman, you spend 2 to 3 hours every day in earning money, while your parents could have given you that money and you could have focused better on studies. That's their way of thinking, which is correct also, right? If my parents were giving me money, I would have not bothered like spending time in freelancing and stuff. Same holds for there for startups. If you can raise money, it helps you focus on building something rather than worrying about money, whether rather than worrying about bank account going empty. On the other hand, it comes with a trade-off that now you are accountable to the investors. You have to give them reports. If you don't perform well, they will obviously come back to you and ask. Some investors are good, some are bad, and you don't know how are your investors. So don't be fascinated by the news around fundraising, is what I would say. Evaluate your preferences. Do you need money or not? That's a question you should ask. If so, for our case, our first customer, which is State Bank of India, they gave us a big enough contract. We did not need money. I was accountable to my customer by building the product, but I never had to give them the money back. I did not have the pressure on me to give them returns on the money they had invested, apart from giving them the product, which anyway I was supposed to do. So many of the startups have raised money, investors have pushed them to raise money at a further round of valuation, grow very fast without achieving a product market fit, and then it has collapsed. So it becomes a high risk, high reward game. If fundraising works for you, it might become a very high rewarding game. But then it comes with a high risk that if it doesn't work, you are screwed. So you need to decide which game are you playing. You need to decide that what is your comfort level. Are you okay with growing a little slower without money and not having accountability of the investor, or you want growth at all costs, and so to fund that all costs you bring investors on the table. So nothing is good, nothing is bad, is what I'm trying to say. It's a matter of how you prefer. So for us, as I said, SBI was the first customer. Then they connected us with SBI Life Insurance. Then SBI Life connected us with SBI Mutual Fund. Another advisor connected us with ICICI Bank. So we were able to acquire customers one by one. And I was doing the selling work, and me and my co-founder together were doing building work. So there were no employees in the initial phase of the company. So we didn't have costs. We had a flat in Mumbai in Ghatkopar rented. It was some 40,000 rupees per month rent, 2 BHK flat from which we were operating. And 40,000 per month we were able to manage from our own savings and from the first contract that we had received. So if we had funding, we might have taken an office on day one, but we were okay with operating from a 2 BHK flat. By the way, I am very happy that we were not funded, because had we raised funds and then my co-founder would have left, it would have created a total mess. And what happens is that if you raise funds, it becomes difficult to leave. So if my co-founder would not have left after raising funds and he did not like working on what we were building, it would have been a bigger mess. Matlab, basically you are holding someone and saying, nahin, you have raised funds, so you do this now. You don't like it, it doesn't matter, you do it now. That would have been a big mess, a recipe for failure. And if he would have left, that would have also have been a failure. So, I mean, there are moving parts in a startup, right? There is an investor, there are your other founders, employees. Anyone can screw up the business very easily, or your own problems. God forbid if you yourself face some medical issues and you have to back off, your business is screwed. So, and then if there is a third party investor sitting on top of your head, then it's a bigger screw up. Some investors will cooperate, many will not. So yeah, you can reach out to investors via, I mean, for example, I invest in some of these startups. So people reach out to me via email, people reach out to me via angel list, people reach out to me via some WhatsApp groups and all. And I don't have bandwidth to evaluate the startup idea. So I forward it to some of my friends in venture capital industry. And then they decide and they tell me that, look, this is good to invest. So I invest small ticket sizes. So the risk for me is quite less. when I say small ticket size, it's like 5 lakh rupees, not more than that. So I think this is a good photograph. SBI giving us a contract and SBI giving us a certificate of building a solution for them. I think so. On the extreme left is Soham, my earlier co-founder. Then is Mr. Kedare from SBI. He was the DGM, Deputy General Manager of Innovations Department, the department responsible for doing something new. And then we have Professor Devdeep. He was one of my professors and mentors from IIT Bombay. And on the last is me. So being a customer being there, felicitating you, giving your names to their subsidiaries that they have done a good job. I think that's the best funding and best recognition of one's hard work and efforts. And then SBI also did a press release mentioning All in Call. The company behind Cogno AI is called as All in Call. That's the name of the registered company. So I think that this is the best way to get funded, is what I believe. So for those who might be interested in startup funding cycle, I'll just briefly talk about it. Initially, you have seed round. Seed round is basically when you have a concept, like I mentioned, this hospital idea, finding an alternative doctor and all of that. So the moment I leave my job and say, okay, look, I want to work on it. So I have some cash flows and expenses. I have a family. I have my parents, right? So I will go to an investor and say, why don't you sign a check of, let's say, 2 crore rupees? By the way, these are random numbers. Don't hold me on these numbers. I'll go and ask them for 2 crores, 3 crores, whatever amount. And let's say I'll tell them that, look, with this money in the next 6 to 12 months, I'm going to validate this concept. And if it works out, I'm going to build a company. So that's a pre-seed round or an angel round where some people will trust you. So let's say you are a college student. Why will anyone trust you? Family and friends will trust you because they know you have the right potential. For me, let's say I've already started a company, got a good exit, sold it to Exotel. So I become suddenly more trustworthy. So even external people will be willing to back me, or the advisors in my previous company, the mentors who held small equity stake. So by the way, I mentioned I was bootstrap, but we gave away 3% equity to incubation center and all of that. So that was not for funding, but that was so that these people get associated with us. So when we have mentors and advisors, they can back us again. It becomes much easier because they have gone through that journey and they trust us. So that's the pre-seed round. And then you raise a seed round, which is okay, now you have some problem statement validated and you are building a product. So you need 18 months to build that product and take it to the market and get to, let's say, 5, 10, 20, 30 paying customers. Then comes Series A, which is now your product market fit has been established. Looks like you have found the key to the lock. You've solved that problem. You have some 20, 30 paying customers, and now you want to scale this up to 200 customers, 500 customers, build a founding team, build a management team. And after that, you have all Series A, Series B, Series C, Ola is raised Series J or whatever. You can have Z, and after, God knows, after Z, they will raise Series AA, some company. But then you have options of IPO, which means you can go public and get listed in stock market, or you can get acquired. So we went from, let's say, pre-seed round, which is like 3-4 lakh rupees we raised from our incubator, and then we went straight away to acquisition. We did not raise any of these rounds. So now about Cogno AI, I wanted to mention. So basically my journey started in 2017. We acquired the first customer, SBI, for our chatbot product, went live with them in July 2017. After that, we acquired some more customers within State Bank Group, which is SBI Life Insurance, SBI Mutual Fund. One of my mentors referred me to ICICI Bank. So once we acquired these 3-4 customers, my co-founder felt that we were building something which is not unique, which is repetitive. There are other chatbot companies in the market who are doing it. And so we did not really have a competitive edge. He was right to some extent, and he quit the company. I was left alone with one intern, one full-time employee at that time. So my current co-founder, Harshita, she was doing a job at Citibank at that time. She's an IIT Kanpur alum, and she left her job and joined me as a co-founder. So she also wanted to get into business. So together we started understanding that, look, whatever we are doing, why are these 3-4 customers buying from us? I think that was the answer which my earlier co-founder and I could not find. I mean, look, 4 large entities like this being your customer is a big deal. Then the question is, if there are other players in the market, then what's the big deal about it? Why are they working with us? So we figured out that they were more interested in the support aspect, flexibility, agility, right? Which means a young startup being able to do things much faster rather than a larger company who is taking time to build a product, who is then, sorry, So in chatbot, you need to configure the use case. So ICICI Bank may want a customer support use case. Kotak Bank might say, I want it for lead generation, or I want it for some other purpose. So you need to configure the conversational flows, the journeys, and integrate it with their backend systems, right? With their APIs, with their backend systems of core banking. So it takes time, it takes human effort. And a larger company might take it to like a 6 months or a 1 year project. More money they will make. For us, it was like, look, we want to get some of these customers. Let's just quickly launch the product for them and go live. So customers like their agility and flexibility. The costing was lesser because we didn't have costs. We were a smaller company. We had a lot of lesser costs. Founders were themselves working on it without drawing salaries. So we could reduce the cost. All of these things we found through interaction with customers. When my co-founder left, we went back to all our customers and tried to understand why are they buying, right? So these are the answers we got. That's when we realized that, look, large financial services companies is our market. And we went on to acquire one customer at a time. So after ICICI Bank, we had a chain of customers, right? State Bank Group, HDFC Group, Kotak Group, ICICI Group, Aditya Birla Group, Bajaj Group. So when I say Kotak Group, Kotak Bank, Kotak Securities, Kotak Mutual Fund, Kotak Life Insurance, Kotak General Insurance. Same way, ICICI Bank, ICICI Securities, ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund, ICICI Lombard. All of these companies we expanded very rapidly. In fact, one thing we found was key. Let's say we have clearance from ICICI Bank on our product. ICICI Bank is using our product. So when you go to ICICI Securities, they feel a lot more comfortable because their parent organization, which is far more complicated, which is regulated by RBI, they are approving the product. They are validating the service provider. So for them, which is ICICI Securities, it becomes a no-brainer. Why not just work with these guys? Because the bank has already trusted them. So these are the things which we could not have thought on day one. I mean, can you imagine chatbot for parents or a voice bot for parents to order from Zomato or book a cab transformed into something which is where I'm getting to know that ICICI Securities will buy because ICICI Bank has bought it and ICICI Bank has bought it because of her flexibility. So what I'm trying to say is startup ideas evolve. The first version of your idea might be absolutely sounding very bad, impossible, but over time, as you go deeper, as you talk to more customers, you get feedback and you understand things better. So no startup idea is good or bad. It's a function of how well can you execute, how long can you persist. So the difference between what me and my co-founder did was I persisted, he did not. So you would be surprised. I mean, it's a recorded conversation, but I think I should mention. I bought his equity. He had 49.25% stake in the company for some 4 lakh rupees. Of that 4 lakhs on paper, 2.84 lakhs was shown as the price I bought for shares. So by the way, the numbers are approximate. And 1.16 lakhs was some security deposit of our Ghatkopar flat, which I had to give it back to him. And our acquisition was a multi-million-dollar acquisition. I mean, the shares 49.25%. If he would have held those shares which I bought from him, he would have been a multi-millionaire today. I mean, that's the power of just persisting for 3 years. So he left in August 2018 and July 2021, which is I think 27 July, if I am not wrong, in 2021, we signed a term sheet with Exotel. So less than 3 years of time can create so much of a difference, and the entire difference is attributable to just customer understanding. So today we are a leader in financial services space and customer experience. Many companies reached out to us for acquisition prior to Exotel. I mean, literally, you guys would be surprised. We are so deep into financial services that when some vice president is leaving some bank and wants to join another bank, I get a reference call. I have got this in the past because the place where he's joining, the other guy is asking, what vendors have you worked with? Because I mean, their job is in digital department. The job is to manage vendors. They don't have anything else as the job. The job description is to manage IT vendors. So when they are quoting, we have worked with Cogno AI. The other person is calling me and saying, hey, this guy was interviewing me and he's mentioning your name. Have you worked with him? Can you give me his reference? That's the depth we have gone to into one market. Many people ask me, why don't you go outside BFSI and all of that? Yes, we are doing it now. Exotel has 7,000 customers and now we are rapidly expanding in their customer base. But had I done it earlier, we would have died because our competitors would have killed us. The differentiation in financial services we had was flexibility, support, and all of that, rather than product being better, AI being better, technology being superior. So this difference, which is superior flexibility and support, God knows if this would have held true in other industries or not. For all I know, financial services is slow. regulated, people are lethargic, people have a lot of things to do, so they don't have time, and so our value proposition holds good for them. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is do less to do more. So these are some resources. I love Y Combinator Startup School. They have a lot of excellent videos. Links are there in this presentation, which I think the team will share. This YouTube channel I recently found, Backstage with Millionaires. So like I have told you guys my story of how I started, how I found the idea, co-founder exit, blah, blah, blah. So there is a guy called Caleb. So I don't know, he's not it doesn't seem like an Indian guy, but he creates excellent videos. I love the case study on delivery. I think one, sorry, Delicious, right? Meat delivery startup. Uh, Sorry, I forgot the name of that. So meat delivery startup is there.
Licious, I think, right?
Sorry?
Licious.
Licious, not delicious. Sorry. Uh, Sachin Bansal, who is building Navi technology. So a lot of good case studies and mostly journeys, how they started, that the first few days, how they came up with the idea, that is very important to understand. And a junior VC blog, this is by a friend, Aviral Bhatnagar. I'm sure some of you would be following him. And this is the last thing. Talk to customers. There is no substitute for it. I can't stress more on this. It is so important. Some of the books you guys may want to read. The Lean Startup. So this is basically what I explained, right? You start with a problem statement and then you iterate by talking to customers. So this book talks about a framework to do that. 0 to 1. This is a general mindset building book. What is happening in the world and all of that. It's a very good book. The hard thing about the hard things. You guys should read it once you start already. Don't read it now. It will not make sense. This is my favorite book. This talks about the challenges the founder faces in their day-to-day lives. So what I'm trying to tell you is entrepreneurship is difficult. You've got to commit at least 5 years to it to get meaningful results. That's it. I hope this presentation was useful and I'm open to questions. I think some people have posted questions in the chat.
Yes, sir. So the first question was, for doing edtech startup, do I need a coding technical knowledge?
So look, you don't need any knowledge, frankly. If you don't have technical knowledge, you get a co-founder who is technical. So I hope that answers your question, right? Either you should be the technical co-founder or you get a technical co-founder who will handle technology.
Right. We open to
Okay, sir.
questions.
So, sir,
Sure,
I
you
have
wanna
a
ask?
question, and it is frankly going to be like a little personal for me, because whatever you will say, I will apply it right now, because I am building a startup, and by the end of this month we are starting a product launch. And in the middle
Okay.
of call, I got a call from my college professor, and he was interested in my idea, and he said, "Ki, Shubham, we can approach investor and funding on behalf of college, and I will connect you to people when you reach here offline." So he has asked me this question, how much money you need and why you need, where you want to spend. And right now, when you were telling me, before the investment, that do you actually need to raise fund and all that. So I was wondering that how should I calculate, that how much money I actually need. And before that, what should the time frame which I keep in mind, that money I need for 6 months or 1 year, or what is your suggestion or something, because I'm going to apply it right now, right away.
So Shubham, I'll give you an answer. Let's say you are a builder. You develop societies, housing societies. Very raw example, right? Now, how will you construct an Excel sheet which talks about how much money you need for this building? So you will list down all the expenses one by one. The first thing you are going to do is purchase the land, correct? You need money for that. Let's say land costs 10 crore rupees, just rough numbers. Now, you know that by just building purchasing the land, you're not going to get customers. You will have to build a prototype, which is basically how is this building going to look like? Some charts, some images of that. So let's say you need to hire a designer who will cost you 12 lakhs a year. Okay. For you agree? You will need a designer who will build all the advertising content. So 10 crore plus 12 lakhs. Now you need some marketing agency to advertise your project across the city. So let's say you are doing this in Mumbai. You want an agency to put some billboards, run some Instagram ads. The idea is to get customers to sign up for your project. So you may want to spend 50 lakh rupees on that. So 10 crore for land, 12 crores for designer, 12 lakhs for designer, 50 lakhs for land. So roughly what, 10 and a half crores. Another 30-40 lakhs you may need in some government approvals. By the way, I'm not a builder, I'm just making up. So that's roughly 11 crore rupees. After that, once you start the construction, you may need, let's say you are building a 10-story building and you need 1 crore per floor. You know that you need to build at least 2 floors for people to come and purchase the flat. So you need another 2 crores. So roughly 13 crores is the buffer, is the cost that you are looking. Add 1 or 2 crores of buffer because you don't know. There might be some unforeseen costs. As I mentioned, some labor might face some damage or injury for which you have to pay the cost. So roughly 15 crores is what you will start off with. After this 15 crore, you will have people sign up for you. They will come and give you 50% advance. Now you sell one flat for, let's say, 2 crore rupees, then 1 crore per flat is what you can get. On one floor, let's say you have 10 flats, you have already built 3 floors, so 30 flats, 30 crores divided by 2, which is 50%. 15 crore you will get advance, correct? You agree? So this will, so I'm trying to explain you how you construct. So you know that after 3 floors, I will get enough money from the people who are signing up so that with that money, I will be able to build rest of the 7 floors. So basically now you don't need more money. Your customers are giving you enough money that you are on a self-sustainable model. You understood my point? So same way for your startup, what are these
Yes.
components? Do you need a developer or are you the developer? Do you need a server for which you need to set up website? Or do you need to spend money on Instagram ads? Do you need an office or are you operating out of college? For 12 months, you estimate. 12 to 18 months, you make an estimate of the cost. And why 18 months? Because 18 months should be your milestone that look, by that time, I should build something meaningful so that I become sustainable. At least my business should start making some profit so that I'm not at the mercy of investors.
Okay, sir. Very good.
By the way,
Thank
this
you very
is,
much. It will
yeah,
help.
this should also answer the questions why, I mean, I see a lot of people hating startups which are loss making. For example, Cred, Ola. Look, these startups are like they are building a building. They are building a 100-story building. So you need a lot of capital upfront. They are in that stage where they have built, let's say, 50 floors. Balance 50 floors are still pending and they are building something premium. I don't know. By the way, I'm not praising Ola or Cred or whatever, and I'm neither an advertiser of them. I'm just telling you that this is how startups work. The profit is in the future. When your parents invested in your education, they didn't ask you that, look, I'm in class 5th, how much money are you earning? They said, look, I will fund your 12th year of school and I'll fund your 4 years of college, 16 years. But after that, you should get a job and make money yourself. All of us are like that loss making startup where our parents have taken care of our loss for 16, 17 years, right? 12 years of school plus 4 years of college roughly. So 16, 17 years, they have taken care of our costs without asking that, are you profitable or not? Now we are giving back to them. Now, for example, I'm earning money and giving back to my parents. So that's how many of these startups are.
Sir, I meant
Awesome,
to
sir.
ask you,
So
like,
we will.
okay, continue,
Yes,
sure.
Aditya.
You will say something, sure?
Actually, there are a few questions, so we will take 2 more questions from the chat, and then Aditya will ask his question and conclude. So
Right.
just 2 more questions, sir. The one question is from Dheeraj Agranari, and he is asking that how do you describe the process of building a MVP?
I think talking to customers. So you should read this book, The Lean Startup, which I showed in my previous slide. This book will describe the entire process of building an MVP to building a product which is sellable. Essentially, the idea is to talk to customers, understand their feedback, build it. Again, show it to them, get their feedback, build it. Again, show it to them, build their feedback, build it, and just repeat the cycle till you have customers who are saying, look, I'll pay money for this. I think someone else has asked, what
Another
is...
question is from Harshit Kumar, I guess, and he has written a paragraph, and I'm reading it. So, how to not fall in the trap of doing too much while in the initial stage of building a digital product? I ask this because sometimes I feel that I start trying to perfect everything before going out in the market and get customer feedback. How to know what are the minimum feature I should be having in my product, which I can take to the customer so that I'm able to iterate later on according to their feedback. A very common problem, sir.
So see, the minimum that features that you should build is 0. Why not just sell a concept? Why not just sell a presentation? Let's say you are building some digital product. Why not write a post on social media about it and say, hey, here is my landing page. Why don't you sign up? And it just explains the concept, or it's a video of yourself talking about that concept. So I have a question for you all. There are almost 45 of you on this call. How many of you got excited by that? Some of the startup ideas that I gave away, which is like insurance for people, right? Many of you would have been excited. It's a minimum viable product.
Yes.
This is a minimum viable product. I have whatever 10, 20 actual people who are saying, "Wow, this looks interesting." By the way, you are not my target audience, so the validation that I'm doing is with a raw
We're losing you in between.
audience. You guys are not people who are getting construction done within your flat, or some of you might be. I don't know. How many of you?
We've lost you.
Sorry.
Continue.
Yeah. So how many of you have? I don't know.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, if you guys are relevant audience, then this would have been a good validation of the startup idea. The hospital idea, I'm sure some of you would have gotten excited because it sounds like a problem statement. I have faced this. So don't build anything until you have customers who are saying, yes, this is very interesting. Why don't you show me something? Customer will tell you that, why don't you show me something? I'm interested in knowing more. That's when you ask him, tell me what do you want to see? They will say, why don't you show me a landing page where I can just see a list of other doctors who I can consult for cardiology. So you know your minimum viable product is a list of doctors in Mumbai who this person can consult for cardiology. That's it. Don't perfect anything on that further. Don't build neurology because you don't have anyone who is willing to pay for neurology because your customer only wants cardiology.
Sir, I meant to ask, like, how has it changed since the acquisition? Like, how do you, like associate yourself with the idea of Cogno AI still like after it has gotten acquired by Exotel?
So look, Exotel has a larger brand name. They are well funded. They have 7,000 customers across almost 60, 70 odd countries. They have a mature management team, a CFO vertical, a CHRO vertical. So for me, it has been a very rewarding experience because it would have taken us 5 years of time to reach out to these 7,000 customers ourselves. While with Exotel, we are able to do it in much lesser time frame. So that is number one. Number two, as a founder, you have to do everything: finance, HR, admin, literally negotiation calls with the landlord for office rent and all of that. Now, I personally don't enjoy these things. These are parts of my job which I have to do, but I don't enjoy. With Exotel coming in, their HR team, their finance team, their administrative team, they are taking care of those things. So I have more time available with me because 4 hours a day are getting saved. So that time I can put in my core activities, which is spending time with customers, understanding their problems, building a better product, right? So that just is a more rewarding experience for me personally. So that's how things have changed for me, or that's the benefit of why Exotel and Cogno have joined hands together.
Very insightful answer. Thank you for answering that, sir. We have another interesting question here.
Before we move forward, Indy, there is one last question, and it is from Hers Singh. Sir, the question is that what is the one thing you could have changed about your journey or you have done differently? Like, there is always this scope for it.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think I would have been more careful with choosing the co-founder early, right? As I told you, after almost 1.5 years, my first co-founder exit. So essentially, a lot of work had to be redone because of that. I mean, imagine you start a journey with someone. In the middle of the journey, they are saying, look, I'm not interested. So you can't continue the journey and you have to go back to the starting point again and then start. I mean, many of you will be trekkers. Just try and relate. In the middle of the trek, your friend says, look, I'm going back. And you can't go alone. So you have to go back and find another person who will trek with you. It just leads to a lot of time wastage. So I would have been more careful with that.
Okay.
Awesome, sir. Thank you very much. I think Q&A is over. Over to you.
Do we have any other question? You can type in the chat box. Okay,
There
can
is
we
someone raising hand.
unmute Cameron Doctor if wants to speak out?
Yes, I'm doing it. Well, now I have allowed everyone to turn on their microphone, so go ahead.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, it was a very informative session, Aman. Thank you for that. I have one quick question. So why particularly did Exotel acquire you and say if they have such a big team, so why couldn't they build it on themselves or something like that? So where does that relative trade-off come, and how do they calculate the bargain? Okay, it's better to acquire them. So being a SaaS platform, so it would help us in positioning our market strategy and acquisition strategy. Thank you.
So see, it's a difficult thing for any large company to build anything overnight. Uh, they will take at least 18 months to build something. I'll tell you why these things take time. Firstly, they have to hire someone entrepreneurial who will take responsibility of this. Number one. Number two, that person needs to build a team of product managers, a team of software engineers, a team of whatever, sales people, delivery people, support people, customer success people, right? They have to do all of that. Then, not just that, these people should be capable of solving that problem. I mean, you can't just hire any engineer and say, go and solve this problem, right? Many of you would know AI, ML, but you can't learn blockchain overnight. Some problem related to blockchain you have to solve, you can't learn it overnight. They will have their own learning curve. And then we have already had almost 4 years of experience of building in financial services, the specific problems. I'll give you an example. Customers look for so when we sell, you have to sell to business, IT, information security, legal, compliance, finance, procurement. 7 teams. One sale takes 7 teams. Business person will have their own requirements. They would want cost reduction. They would want increase in lead generation. They would want a better customer experience. IT people will have their own requirement that will you deploy it in Microsoft Azure? Do you do it on-premise deployment? What technology stack do you use? If you use MySQL database, we don't agree because our enterprise only approves Oracle. All those complications will happen from technology perspective. Information security, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, source code review, secure code deployment, all of those things need to be done from scratch again. ISO certification, SOC 2 compliance, then business IT infosec, legal, the NDA, right? Or the SLA, service level guarantees. How much uptime can you commit? You are an engineer, for example, all of you are engineers, I'm sure many of you. Can you commit an uptime by looking at an application? No. You have to run it through 6 months of testing just to understand that whether this application can support this much amount of load. Can the server scale if the load suddenly spikes up? All those things, right? Then compliance. RBI has some rules of PAN number not capturing PAN number, Aadhaar number, or data not going outside Indian boundaries. God forbid if some security breach happens, RBI will kill the company. So why should they work with Exotel or some other company when Cogno has done that? Been there, done that, and ICICIs of the world have already approved it. Then finance. What is the cost? Exotel needs to rediscover the entire cost, right? They need to figure out that should they charge 50,000 per month? Should they charge 5 lakh per month? Should they charge 50 lakhs per month? I mean, it's a matter of figuring out, right? What is the value for the customer? Should it be a per conversation pricing? Should it be a per chat pricing? Should the pricing be separate for a WhatsApp bot? Should the pricing be separate for a mobile app based bot? All these things they need to figure out again. And then lastly, the procurement piece, which is on what parameters can they negotiate, right? What are the aspects in which you have the leverage in which you can make money in the future? So all these things they have to answer. You can bring experienced people, you can bring smart people who can help you speed up the things. But someone who has been there, done that for 4 years, you can't beat that person so easily. Google has been there for a while now, right? All 50 of us sit together. Can we build Google in 3 months? No. And the question is, why will someone use Google, use us rather than using Google? because of domain experience, like construction. Let's take an example of construction. Construction as an industry has been there for thousands of years, right? Let's say 300 years, last 300 years have been meaningful. All of you know about construction, which cement to use, which raw material to use, where to purchase land. Can we all come together and become builders? No, we can't. We don't have that expertise. It's easier said than done.
So true, sir. And let me, sir, just I dare to say that your energy from the starting of this session and till now has been just simply amazing. Like you can talk about startups and business like whole day long. This is what I get a feel from. But before we end this session, sir, I would like to share a little problematic data with you. Although the 70% of India's population lives in rural India, but if you look at the startup penetration in tier 2, tier 3 cities or entrepreneur coming from rural part of country, that is very low compared to the top tier urban cities. And let us not forget that these 30-35 cities are not India. India is much more bigger than that, a very highly complex society. I personally come from a very rural part of this Jharkhand, in the state of Jharkhand, around 200 kilometers from Ranchi. We say we have same distance. Patna is also 200 kilometers, and Varanasi is also 200 kilometers. So it's like the rural part of Bihar, UP, and Jharkhand itself, and Chhattisgarh as well. I have a traditional family business, and I was of entrepreneurial mindset, and that is why I'm into startup. But I don't see many people, even though they come from a business background. Like traditionally, everyone in India was is a businessman. Like nobody has that opportunity of a job. So wearing tie, that have they have a myth. Even my dad have a myth that job is very fine, 9 to 5, nothing more. You don't care about more. And in business, you have to care 24/7. So maybe it is the time that we should also start focusing on the content of Bharat, how we can bridge the gap between India and Bharat. And I believe that you, through your YouTube channel and other program like this, which have a pretty high penetration, are really doing a very good job, sir. And language is absolutely a barrier. So instead of using English as a common term, we should, if possible, we should use a regional language, and it will penetrate to the last village and the last guy who want to do something like this. So that is one of the remark I thought I should share with you, sir. And I think we are done with the session. So
I have a question. Can I go next?
Okay, go ahead, Governor.
If you have the time.
Well, sorry if you have time, of course.
Yeah, I can take
Sorry
the
if you
question.
have time.
Sure.
Thank you, Mansur, for taking the question. I'm really good presentation. I really liked it. I don't attend much of the startup things, but I really dig this presentation and it was really informative. I have just one question that you said the most important thing about building a startup is contacting the customers, right? You have to target them and you have to ask questions to them. Now, starting for like people like us who are new to this concept and everything, like when we'll be starting out, you don't need to code, you need to gather up the idea and contact the customers. What way would you like tell us? Like we can go to college and ask people, but that's not the target audience. We need a target audience that can be, which are related to our own field, the one we are creating to. So what way would you suggest that we talk to the customers, or like how should we approach them? Where should we approach them? How should we make contact with the target audience? What's your take on that?
So your question has two parts actually. The first part is around how to find these customers, and second is how to talk to them. Correct? So how to talk is answered in this YouTube video, which I have sent the link on chat. Go through this video. This is excellent, and there are some more videos on that. Finding target customers, actually, it starts with the problem statement, which is very important. Like I mentioned, very simple example. I mentioned the problem statement of the hospital, finding an alternative doctor and all. If I have to find more people who are going through medical admission process and who want a second opinion, or who want a hospital which provides a better cost, I can just go and stand outside Hiranandani Hospital and I will get feedback. I'll stand outside hospital or stand near their admission desk, and there will be people who will be getting admitted. Just have a casual chat with them. Hey, are you doing fine? I can. My dad is, by the way, admitted for blah blah blah. What about you? If you just start a conversation, all that person needs is some moral support, because they are undergoing some medical challenges in their family. If you just ask them, "Ki, I'm sorry to know about that you are in this hospital and looks like there is some medical problem. By the way, uh, uh, I just wanted to understand if you're looking for a second opinion. I can see if I can help." So that's the least you can do to talk to your customers. Same way, the other idea I mentioned, which is like uh, so I mean, which is the labor one, labor insurance one. Go and talk to societies, society managers, society offices. Go to areas where contract workers stay. Go to these companies which provide contract services and talk to them. They will be able to give feedback. The third idea which I mentioned was around, let's say, frequent flyer program across airlines and all. This idea is very relatable. Anyone who is flyer, your uncle would be flying frequently, your employees would be flying frequently. Just ask them. You will get feedback. So find out people who have that problem statement and reach out to them. That's a way to target your audience. Anything you are building for university students, stand outside a university. Anything you are building for doctors. Find out Facebook groups or WhatsApp groups which have doctors in that group. So I mean, there are communities for everything, right? There are unions, associations, communities, everything is there. So those are the ways to reach out to customers. Or another idea is to just run a Facebook ad. Facebook provides a bunch of parameters, Instagram provides a bunch of parameters. Just run an ad. You're not selling anything, but you're selling a landing page where they will come and sign up with their email. If they give you your email and say, yes, I'm interested in this, so that's a validation.
Does that answer your question, Govindam?
Yeah, pretty much. Thank you for that, Aman sir. That was really informative. I really love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So on the same note, I've dropped Aman sir's link to socials, and chances are if you're an avid reader on Quora, you must have came across his answer more than once, right? So you can follow him on socials and find the links in the chat box. And again, thank you again, sir. And I'd like to thank you personally for making this session possible and taking time to conclude the session. And it was such an honor to have you here, sir. Thank you again.
Thank you
Absolutely,
everyone.
sir.
All the best.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
And
sir.
please, sir, create your content for the rural part of the country as well, because
Sure.
that is where the next generation of entrepreneur and next revolution will take place.
Sure,
Especially
absolutely.
because of the smart city project. So it will help us a lot. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you
Thank you,
everyone.
sir.
Thanks for being a great audience. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys, and you can leave.
Yeah, let's just
Have a great
stop the recording and share it.